Hey guys, when we move into lesson or module 7, lesson 5, we're going to learn a little bit more about classifying shapes. We're going to move beyond quadrilaterals and consider other shapes as well, or shapes with different amounts of sides other than 4. And the purpose of this lesson really is to show you that there are many different ways that you can classify shapes. So we can classify by the types of angles they have, the number of angles or the number of sides they have. We can classify, there's so many different ways to classify shapes, number of parallel sides. And let's take a look at some of those ways, because that's what your lesson is going to ask you about today. So the first definition I want to give you today is that of a regular polygon. So a regular polygon. And we have to unpack this a little bit, right? There's a couple of things here. So a polygon is a many-sided figure. Okay, and what regular means is it has the same angles, same side lengths. So a classic example is a square, because a square has sides that are the same length, so it meets that portion of the definition, right? We can give a check mark here next to that one. And it has angles that are all 90 degrees. So we can put a check mark near there, and it's a many-sided figure. It has, obviously has more than 1 or 2 sides, right? So I can put a check mark next to that. So it meets all those criteria. So a square is an example of a regular polygon, but there are many others as well. I could draw a triangle in that way, like, right? So I can go like this, and then connect those two sides and make a regular triangle in which all the angles are equal to each other. These are all the same, those measurements in there. You took a measurement of them, that they'd be equal. And the side lengths are the same as well. So that is another example of a regular polygon. And you could do the same for any shape. You could have a regular octagon, a regular hexagon, regular septagon, pentagon. You could go on and on and on and have regular versions of all those different shapes. So that's one thing that I want you to be on the lookout for, because I know that your work is going to ask you for that. So again, if it's a regular, if it asks for a regular triangle, a regular quadrilateral, it means that it has to have the same angles and the same side lengths. It's really sunny out here, so I'm squinting a lot at my screen. It's hard to see, but it is nice to be able to teach outside for today. You're also going to notice in this lesson that you're going to see shapes that have, well, let me just show you, let me show you on the actual assignment itself, okay? So let's take a look at your work today, okay? So the first thing you're going to do is practice some skip counting, work on those 6 facts. You're going to go through these sort of questions with these shapes. How many sides does it have? How many sets of parallel lines does it have? Now, again, when it says how many sets of parallel lines, this one has 1 set. This top line and this bottom line are parallel lines. So there's 2 lines there, but together they form 1 set. Think of it like a pair of socks, right? If you have just 1 sock, you can't have a set of socks. You have just 1 sock. So you're not answering how many lines there are. You're answering how many sets of lines are parallel. So this top and bottom set, that group, is 1 set altogether. And you're going to go through that. It's going to ask you if it's has right angles, what's the name of it. It's going to ask you all that stuff for a bunch of these, right? Then you're going to get down here, and you're going to take a look at these shapes. And you might have to zoom in here, whoops, and look more closely. Use the zoom in tool right up here and zoom in at these letters, right? And it's going to ask you questions like, which shapes have all sides that are equal? And which shapes have all sides that are not equal? Or I guess that could be 3 of the sides are equal and 1's not, but 10 sides are equal and 1's not. So not all the sides are equal. A shape that has at least 1 right angle. and a shape that has at least one set of parallel lines. So say, you know, this one right here, S, has, at least I think that's S. Let's take a closer look. Oh, it's R. Mr. Mill's eyesight's going a little bit. R, I would type R right there, and then I'd find anything else that has one set of parallel lines. Now let's look at, you know, at P, for example. You might think to yourself, well, that can't possibly have parallel lines, but it does. Look, this right here, that line, and then if you go right across this line right down here, if we extend that forever, we extend this forever, those two sets of lines will never touch, just like if you take this top one and this bottom one. So there are many sets of parallel lines there on that shape. So look carefully at those and see if you can figure that out. You're then going to go on and you're going to do some more work with different shapes. And again, is it regular? And again, you have to remember that regular means all the angles are the same as well as all the sides being the same. And then you have more chances to classify. This time you're classifying by number of sides. And then you're going to work again with sides and angles. So the purpose of this activity, again, is to make sure that you understand that there are so many different ways to classify shapes, to classify polygons. Polygons, again, are many-sided figures. So that it's really not, there's not a ton of new learning in this. It's applying learning that you've already done. So it's talking about angles and side lengths and number of sides, stuff we've already discussed a little bit in the last lesson, and then putting that to use and figuring out how to sort things based on that. It's a little bit similar to some of the word sorts that we've done, obviously a different subject, but we've talked about with word sorts how there can be more than one way to sort a group of words. And this is the same thing. Like you might sort, let's take a look at these for a second and see if we can come up with an example. I might have these shapes here. I might have a rectangle. I might have a square. And I might have that. Have a rhombus. Okay. And I might say, let's sort these three things and let's put anything with right angles on the left and anything without it on the right. And then I don't think I can actually move. Maybe I can. Can I move these? Yes, I can. So I'd put that over there. Move this over here. Move this over here. So I'd say these ones have right angles. This one does not. And then I could say, let's reorganize these. And I would say, all right, I want to do ones that have all equal sides, side lengths on the right and not equal side lengths on the left. And I would say, oh, well, in that case, let's sort these differently because the square now belongs over here. This has the four same side lengths, as does this. So I've reclassified it. I've done it a different way. And that, again, is the whole point of today's lesson, is that there are many ways to classify these things. And it's just applying the things that you've already learned and applying the things that you already know. If you have any questions about this, let me know, and we can go over it again if needed. If not, good luck with your work, and I look forward to moving on to the next lesson with you tomorrow.